Good morning, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matters, or shall we say some very important topical matters, because this morning we are going to just be talking free, right? And commenting on several topical issues around the world. Well, let's begin with Haiti, because Haiti is in the news and continues to be in the news because of what is happening there. The disaster, the human-made disaster that is happening in the country of Louverture. Now, listen to the diario, that is the newspaper, the primary newspaper of the Dominican Republic, that's Listing Diario. And it opens up with an article here. Let me see if I can show you just for you to participate in our discussion this morning, because sometimes it's good to ensure that you are seeing. And because I'm going to read in Spanish also and do some of the translations, it's important for you to see what I'm suggesting from this piece. So this is the paper, the major newspaper of the Dominican Republic, the DR, and it's called Listing Diario, right? All right, so it's a daily newspaper, okay? So we have here La ONU, which is the United Nations, all right? Because in Espanol is Organización de Naciones Unidas, which is the United Nations, all right? Is asking for all Haitians to be, for all countries to accept Haitian refugees, right? So the United Nations is requesting that Haitian refugees be accepted in all countries. La ONU pide aceptar haitianos como refugiados, right? They're asking us to accept Haitians as refugees. So whether or not you have the money or the economic resources or the political stability, you've got to accept Haitian refugees. That is what the United Nations here is saying. Now, one of the things that I would like to ask United Nations, which really is a subsidiary of US, should I say now, manipulations and ownership, are they actually insisting and, and ensuring that the Haitians also are properly taken care of if they should go to the United States? Because the United States is also causing, not only the United States, if they should end up, why don't they take them to, for example, to Canada and to France? I think that the United Nations could arrange for, some planes, right? Some lift from Haiti to say to Canada and all the countries and the core countries, Brazil and Spain and Germany, right? And those countries who are creating hell in that country, who are making the situation worse than it is supposed to be. Now, they say now the ACNUR, which is the Agency for Refugees of the United Nations, pide a los países que es imperativo. They're saying now that it is imperative, right? It is imperative to guarantee that the Haitians receive the international protection of refugee status, right? So that's what they're suggesting. So la ACNUR pide a los países que es imperativo garantizar que los haitianos reciban la protección internacional de estatus de refugiados, all right? So that this is the Haitian people, and they are, moving forward to receive their refugee status. That's interesting, and of what is happening there. So we understand that their life and their security and their liberties are threatened because of what is happening, the violence that is taking place, and also that it's in violation of human rights, what is happening. But who is causing that to happen in Haiti? Well, they're saying this, so they say, reiteramos, we reiterate, también el llamado, the call, so we reiterate also the call a todos los estados, to all the states, which is a no regresar a las personas a Haiti, right? So that they should not return by force people to Haiti. So when they show up, you should not send them back, right? That is what a la fuerza, which means by force. Should not send them back to Haiti by force. Inclusive, which means inclusive, okay, including, que las pidieron asilo y les fue rechazo. So if they ask you for asylum, they should not be denied, right? So that is what the United Nations is saying, that countries, when they show up, you should not deny them entry, particularly if they are requesting refugee status and for asylum. That is the dictate or the diktat coming from the United Nations, which, you know, has a lot of blood on its hands. And I'm sure, how is it that the United Nations is telling countries, um, you know, what to do and what not to do when they are at the one of the causes of the problem, and they're leading the US and supporting the wars around the world? You know, how can we take these people seriously? At any rate, this morning, the Gleaner newspaper from Jamaica opens up its story. Well, it has a story here. I don't think it's open, but let's look if we can look at the Gleaner. You know, we've just looked at listing the area, and I must say, I have to commend the Dominican Republic for, you know, rendering some very good, well-written articles. Was a newspaper and, you know, a news article, but it was not a opinion piece. But I've been reading some pieces from the listing Diario recently, and I must say that the reporting on Haiti is far superior to what I see coming from Jamaica. And shame on Jamaica, because I thought that they would have upped the game and they would have been reporting on it, but they're just, I understand that on the ground they have radio reporters and, but I think it's lacking based on what I'm seeing. I think that there needs to be more writing and more analysis done coming out of Jamaica, but nothing is coming out of there because we know that Jamaica is in lockstep with the US and US's foreign policies toward Haiti. So shall we say anymore? But even though, yeah, we can say the Dominican Republic is also in lockstep with what is happening in Washington, but at least their journalists here tend to give a better understanding, and they have writers who are giving their points. I mean, sometimes their points are subjective, and well, aren't all points subjective? We're all subjective and so on, but at least they are presenting their ideas, and we need to have, and we need to hear from, and we need to see written more ideas coming out of Jamaica and the Caribbean at large. I have not been following a lot the other newspapers coming from the other Caribbean territories like Barbados and Trinidad. I need to look at the Trinidad and Garden more often, so I'm not sure what their views are. Tomorrow I'll try to find something coming out of Trinidad and Barbados. But did I have the screen shared? No, I haven't shared the screen yet. So let me share my screen with you right now. And this is coming from the Gleaner Online. And she is the I always mix up her name, Mirtha Dusulumi, and she is a Haitian Jamaican. Well, she's Haitian, but has been living in Jamaica for years. Jamaica diminishes stain of shame with acceptance of Haitian orphans, and is Mirtha Desulme, and she's the president of Haiti Jamaica Society. I have invited her, or had invited her, to speak on my channel. She did accept, and she asked me to send some questions, or I have not gotten around to send any questions. And I like to have a free talk. I don't like to have scripted conversations. So, Ms. Desulme, if you are watching my video, I'm still inviting you to speak with us about what is happening on the ground in Haiti. Let's have a free conversation and not something that is scripted. I don't like the sort of scripted conversations. Sometimes they tend to be phony. Come with your knowledge. You have a lot of knowledge, and just share what you know so that we can move forward. Now, President of the Haiti Jamaica Society, Mirtha Desulme, says that 59 disabled Haitian children who are to be granted asylum has diminished a stain of shame from the Jamaican government, which last month denied nationals from the violence ravaged nation's similar security. Well, So that is what she's saying, that it has diminished the state of shame for Jamaicans who deported some Haitians who had recently arrived. The children, more than 20 of whom are confined to wheelchairs, are to arrive in the island today by ship along with 30 caregivers, right? So that is what is happening. Local charity Mustard Seed Communities has been working with a private Haitian charity for the past year regarding the care of the children and is to assume responsibility for them. Let us hear what she's saying here. Desulme, who is also the diaspora representative for the civil society body Montana Accord, told the Gleaner that she was pleased with the decision to accept the children, arguing at the same time that the unspeakable violence occurring in the French and Creole country did not prevent the government from deporting Haitians arriving by boat since July last year. Now, this is a very thorny matter, right? And we've got to tread very, very cautiously when we're talking about children and we're talking about saving of human lives, okay? Because human lives are very important. And because we cannot create, we should also not kill, and we should not contribute to the loss of human lives. Very important that we understand that. But what we need to do is that if at the end of the day, Jamaica is also working with the United States to destabilize Haiti, it is going to be equally culpable for the situation in Haiti and will also be responsible for the deaths and the spilled blood on that island of Louverture. It's important that we understand that. May I repeat that? If Jamaica, which is trying to diminish, according to Mirtha, its stain of shame by accepting those 20 Haitian children, those 20 Haitian orphans to Jamaica. Yes, that's a great effort, and we must commend Jamaica for doing that. On the other hand, because Jamaica is involved with the US policy and they're supporting US policy toward Haiti, which is a destabilization effort, then we must understand that they are going to be held accountable for the deaths and the sufferings and the loss of human lives, right, in Haiti as we speak, because you cannot be giving me one hand, your right hand, and then using your left hand to kill me, to suffocate me. And Jamaica has to understand that. I think that we are trying to probably save, face. We're trying to save face here. But at the end of the day, I think that we are also contributing by lending a helping hand to the US to destabilize that country. Now, it's interesting. I think tomorrow I'll talk about Guy Philippe, right? Guy Philippe, who is an ex-police chief in Haiti and is like a messiah right now. He's trying to salvage, as it were, his country and to make it a democratic society. Now, yesterday he was speaking in an interview. Well, it wasn't yesterday, but I was reading an article that was posted by the published by the Washington Post. And also I read one that was published by the New York Times. I share those articles with you tomorrow about Guy Phillips. And he said that everything, this is not coming from Guy Phillips, everything in Haiti, everything that is happening in Haiti is controlled by the United States. Everything. There's nothing. He says everything. And he should know because he has worked for the United States. Remember now that he was one of the primary golpista, the coup leaders, right? I like that word in Spanish, the word golpista, which means the daron golpe, which means that he was one of the primary coup leaders in 2004, the 2004 ousting rather, of former Prime Minister of Haiti, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. So he was one of those coup leaders and one of the major ones at the time. So he was doing the bidding at the time of the United States and seems to be still continues to be doing the bidding of the United States. But we'll talk about him tomorrow. We can't talk about Guy Philippe right now. It's a lot to unpack about Guy Philippe. And when I was doing my research on Guy Philippe yesterday, I had to say, Lord, who is the moral guy here in Haiti? I can't trust anyone because everything seems to be so convoluted. And, the more you look at what all the actors down there, even the ones whom you might think are wonderful people and they're trying to free the Haitian people, you have to ask yourself the question, who is funding these people and who are behind these people? Because the United States, among other powers, have been known around the world, even during the French Revolution, to finance both sides. So they can be on both sides and you don't know, because at the end of the day, they will win. Because if they are financing both sides, so one side says that we're trying to free the Haitian people, another side seems to be pro-US policies, but yes, so the US can be behind both sides in terms of financing both sides in order to manipulate our understanding of what is happening on the ground, and then we are vouching for one side, and eventually the United States will win. Right? That is what we have to understand. So I'm not suggesting to you that Cherizier, for example, barbecue might not be somebody who is sincere, but we just don't know. He seems to be, but we don't know who is funding him. Somebody has to fund him because he cannot just be challenging a major power or major powers. I shouldn't just say a major power, but major powers on the world stage without being funded. Somebody has to be funding Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier, right? I think somebody's funding him. We don't know. And I would not like to come here on this channel and accuse him for what I do not know. But because we are thinkers on this channel, I am just asserting that something is amiss here, and we don't know. And the more I delve into the research, the more I delve into what is happening on the ground, the more I say, wow, this is convoluted. I don't think I can unpack what is happening here, the Haitian crisis. And then when we talk about Haiti, we tend sometimes to blame the external forces, and they ought to be blamed, like Canada, France, and the United States, and the United Nations, and the core group in Brazil, and Germany and Spain, and all of these countries, perhaps including the UK. But we have not spoken about, or we tend not to speak in depth about the Haitian elites and the politicians who are also functioning and aiding and abetting these external forces. I think we need to delve more into that, into talking about these people, because they are also major contributors to the destabilization effort of what is happening in Haiti. So I think we need to look at how many families down there that control Haiti. Is it 15 or 21 families? I know 21 families control Jamaica. I'm not sure how many of the families there control Haiti. I think I heard it was 2021 too. Similar to what happens in Jamaica, a little bit more precarious than what happens there. The Jamaican situation is a little bit more stable because we got our independence, whatever it was, 1962. So the British left, a decent number of institutions, and they have stood us quite well over the years. They are weakening as we speak, but yesterday, for example, let me get into that conversation now with the parliamentarians, that the sitting government, the incumbent, decided that they would have walked out of parliament yesterday. That's the Jamaican parliament, because the opposition challenged them that Juliet Holness, Mrs. Juliet Holness, who is the wife of the current Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, the opposition leader, challenged the government, because he forms the government, he's the Prime Minister, about Juliet being Speaker of the House of Representatives. And at the same time, she's his husband. Well, she's his wife. Yeah. She is his wife. Right, what am I saying? Right. So the fact of the matter is that the opposition leader, that's Mark Golding, was challenging Prime Minister Holness and asking him, how is it that you could have your wife being the Speaker of the House at the same time she is, your wife? It's sort of, there's a lot of conflict of interest there. And because of that, Andrew Holness, the prime minister, got upset because obviously they're talking about his wife and they're attacking her position as Speaker of the House in the Jamaican Parliament. So he and his colleagues, that's the Prime Minister Andrew Holness and his colleagues, walked out of Parliament, right, during a very important debate on the budget, that was given by Mark Golding, the oppositional leader, represented by the People's National Party, the PNP. Now, Jamaicans are really, really upset at what has happened and what has taken place, and he's wondering what is happening to Jamaica, to Jamaica's democracy, right? And how are we going to move forward? Now, these people are representative of we the people, right? They are representatives of how we behave, how infantile we are as a people, and that we cannot sit down and have a serious and a civil debate on an important matter, right? Because based on what I've seen, it seems to me that the PNP did, including Mark Golding, the opposition leader who was accusing Juliet Holness, they did support her bidding for that position, and also her bid rather, and also they did support her when she actually became Speaker of the House. So I'm not sure why is it that now they are complaining though that he's Speaker of the House. And I'm in no support. I did also question that, and I still continue to question why Juliet Holness is the Prime Minister's wife, is the Speaker of the House. Why would you have the Prime Minister's wife be the Speaker of the House? How can you have any form of objectivity in that sort of arrangement? I did question it, and I still continue to question why. But of course, you cannot have your cake and eat it. And if not Prime Minister, but the leader of the opposition, Minister Mark Golding, if he did endorse that sort of arrangement, why is he now complaining? He should have recognized in the first place. And I did see a clip that was shown on TikTok, last night when I was, surfing TikTok, of the former PNP leader, that's People's National Party leader, Dr. Peter Phillips. He was in Parliament and he was congratulating Juliet Holness for the position, for her promotion to be the Speaker of the House. And people were clapping, including Mark Golding. I saw him there clapping, knocking on the table, right, in Parliament. So it seemed to me that clearly that Mark Golding did endorse Juliet Holness to have become the next Speaker of the House, right? So why is it now that's a problem to him? Is it because he had nothing substantive to say to Jamaican people? And that is what Jamaicans have to understand. When our politicians don't have anything substantive to say to you, that is what they will do. They will create theatrics and they will make you feel as if they are standing up for you, but what they're merely doing is just playing games, right? Because I'm sure that Mark Golding doesn't have anything substantive to say with regard to the budget that was tabled by Dr. Nigel Clark, the finance minister of Jamaica. I am sure he doesn't, because we are under, it seems to me, a secret International Monetary Fund deal. Whatever they're doing, we don't know, because nobody knows what's going on with the IMF and what is it that we are expected to do, in terms of the agreements that were written or that were drafted in the Memorandum of Understanding, in the MOU. We don't know. We're just moving on, as and having faith, implicit faith in the politicians, believing that they are, moving us to greener pastures. I don't know if that is true, and I think that it's time for our politicians to speak the truth and to be honest with the Jamaican people. I think at this moment of Jamaica's history rather, we should be looking at what is happening in Haiti. And we should see that we don't want to get there. But it seems to me that we're working laboriously to get there. I'm not sure if the elites, the Jamaican elites, are looking at their Haitian counterparts and they're saying, well, these people are perhaps wealthier than we are. And we want to control ports and we want to control the Jamaican society in the way that the Haitian elites control theirs. And they might have more wealth than the typical Jamaican elites. I don't know. I have no facts. I have no evidence of that. But, of course, when you look at a country in which you just have the very rich and then the very poor, at least Jamaica has a little bit more equitable society. It's getting there in terms of just having the very rich and the very poor, but we are not yet there, right? But I think that we are fast getting there, if you know what I mean. If we continue on this path and continue with this agreement with the International Monetary Fund, I think that we are going to get there. And it's time for us to have an open discussion about the IMF and the World Bank and the International Development Bank, and to look at the pros and the cons. And if the cons outweigh the pros, we've got to send them packing and say goodbye, right? They have actually sucked the lifeblood out of the Jamaican economy, right? And every time I speak about the IMF, I get a little bit irate because these people, they don't care. And they're like mosquitoes. They will suck your blood and they don't care. Right? Because that is how they survive. Remember now, the mosquito, when the mosquito actually bites you, right? That is how it survives on your blood. Procreates, right? And that is what the IMF does. If it doesn't do what it does and steal monies from different economies around the world, then it is not going to survive. And when are you going to understand that? Right? So that's what we need to hear from not Peter Phillips, Mark Golding, and also Andrew Holness and Dr. Nigel Clarks. We need to hear what's going on with the IMF, what is going on with the World Bank and the IDB. We need to hear from them about and what are the understanding, what are the understandings, I should say, what are the agreements being inked out, as far as we are concerned, as far as the Jamaican economy is concerned. We still are not sure what is happening. And we need to know what is happening. Right? Now, how are we going to take care of these Haitian orphans? And one of the things with regard to the Haitian orphans and the Haitians being refugees and all of these stuff, there is something that we also have to question. Who is benefiting? Because when you see these people coming, the orphans and all of these people, the refugees, it's a business too, right? Everything that the US is doing and the United Nations is doing is a business, everything. And we need to find out who are behind these refugees and orphans and whatever is coming. What organizations are behind these and who are they affiliated with? We've got to ask these questions because some of these people are making lots of money, millions of dollars, if not billions. Right? And then we have to feed them. We have to take care of them when the ordinary populace, the ordinary man and woman cannot even feed him or herself. Right? So it's a good effort, don't get me wrong. From a superficial perspective, it is a very noble effort. But what we have to understand is that this is also a business, and there are people in the higher echelon of society who is making big bucks, or who are making big bucks, but there are people, I should say, not one person, but there are people in the higher echelon of society who are making big bucks, right? Big bucks they're making out of this chaos that we call disaster capitalism, right? And that was a book that was written by Naomi Klein. And I read that book from 2006, I suggested on this channel, and it was very interesting how disasters can also wreak lots of money, while it wreak a lot of, damage and, and pain and suffering. But for the billionaire class, for the multimillionaires, it can also generate loads of money. And then they pretend as if we have to do the helping them because they are the they're charitable people, and they have these organizations, right? That they're charitable organizations, right? And you believe that, right? The Red Cross and these people, right? And then they make millions and billions of dollars, from these disastrous events. So it's important that we begin to look carefully at what is happening. Now, yesterday, somebody, sent a response based on the video I had made about Sir Hilary Beckles and the fact that his rental car fees. I didn't read the entire article, but I, read from the Gleaner that, his car probably had broken down and he was renting cars, or what he had rented a car that was costing millions of dollars. And I'm wondering, I'm saying, what is happening? Why do we have these administrators living like kings? And somebody responded by saying, well, the University of the West Indies is a great institution and we have some of the best professors in the world. And I'm not going to say that they nay to that. I'm not going to say that they do not have some good professors. They do. And the University of the West Indies is, in fact, a good institution, right? And they have produced some great students, right? Some very important intellectuals around the world. And a lot of them also are in they're graduates, that is, in every university from Harvard to Brown to Princeton, they're there. So I'm not going to say nay to that. However, we have to understand that we're living in a poor society, in a poor country, and we are not as wealthy as the United States, far from it, or Canada, or the UK. So we've got to be very careful in terms of how we treat professors and these administrators. I know that University of the West is fast copying what the US is doing in terms of having these marketable universities and, adapting to the market structure, right, of university operations. Because the universities really are corporate institutions. They are not academic centers anymore. And I hope you understand that they're there as just some corporate institutions to make money, right? And not to educate and to empower. That is what it's all about. And that's what the United States universities have been for many years now. I remember when I was at Howard University, and I used to see, for example, the stark difference between the salaries of the professors. And you're talking sometimes now full professors and associate professors in the College of Arts and Sciences versus those who were in the College of, well, Sciences, Arts and Sciences. So the ones who were in science, the professors who were science professors tended to have gotten far more money than those who were in the arts, right? Those who were teaching English and, and all these other things in the arts. And I remember that I had a conversation with my chair at the time, and he said, Andrew, it's because you have all these grants that the science people in the science departments get. Grants, right? So they have a lot of research grants, but guess where these research grants are coming from? From the pharmaceutical companies, right? Who have billions of dollars, right? Coming from those companies. And that is how a lot of time the research is compromised, because it has to be attached to the market model, right? So instead of giving you real, I don't want to call the word because, I might be censored, real information, right? I'm going to call the S word, right? Because it can be the algorithms, but it's going to catch that word. But instead of it's interesting where I have to be very careful with what I say on this channel, because the algorithms, and they can censor your video and take down your video. But the fact of the matter is that instead of having real research, right, that is cemented in truth, it has to just go along with what is the they have to just go along with the flow and what the marketers, the people who work in the corporate world, their corporate sponsors want them to say, as opposed to what is real and what is the reality. So, but people in the arts tend not to be paid very well. So, for Jamaicans who think that, you know, people, the professors in the United States make a lot of money. No, they don't, right? In some universities, they might be able because they might also have other, access to other grants, endowments, and stuff like that. So that Harvard University, for example, they have access to a lot of money because at Harvard, slavery built up that institution and they reaped a lot of money from that institution. And Harvard and these elite American universities, for example, are attached to the United States military industrial complex that has access to a lot of money, right? So a lot of money because you know that it does things by force, right? And if it goes to Haiti and want to have their gold reserves, then they have to have it. Let me see. I did have something here that I wanted to have read. And okay, could you give me 1 second? Let me see if I could get that book. I wanted to read something on Haiti. And so please give me a second. Let me get this book here. Sorry about that. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so I want to, so the United States is, and the elite universities there, like the Harvard, the Princeton, and the Columbias, are definitely linked to the US military industrial complex. Now, this was a book, Taking Haiti, that was written by Mary A. Renda. It's very important work if you want to understand the first US military intervention. That's the invasion, occupation, the first US occupation of Haiti. I think she did an extraordinary job with her book. But she said something here that caught my attention. Now, remember now that the United States first occupied Haiti. The first military occupation was in 1915, and that was under the administration of Woodrow Wilson, the then president of the United States of America. Now, here on page 115, she suggests here, that's Mary A. Renda, the author of the book, the apparent contradictions between Wilson's authoritarian actions in Latin America and the Caribbean and the liberal political philosophy for which he is best known may be explained by these unstated yet central racialized structures of domination at the heart of liberalism. In this sense, Wilson's policy toward Haiti did not result from the failure of the liberal vision in this particular case, but rather from the logical, if usually hidden, implications of that vision. Wilson may have been right to oppose orderly process of government based upon law to the use of arbitrary or irregular force. Notice that the United States is always talking about the maintenance of law, the maintenance of law and order. They are suggesting that they are a country, the United States is a country of law and order, and sometimes it's not, right? And we've got to look at that when they say something, they mean the opposite. Now, indeed, he clung righteously to the idea of the law as the only proper basis for military action, even when the letter of the law provided insufficient grounds. And most of the times when they go there, they create chaos. They're not there to create law and order, as they often purport, right? Very important that we understand that fact. Nevertheless, his assumption that justice inhered in orderly processes of government conceived within a framework of liberal developmentalism ignored the systematic inscription of racial, class, and gender hierarchies within the law itself. Now, she's now going to talk about America's paternalistic attitude to Haiti. The paternalist discourse of the occupation was sometimes blatant like Butler's and sometimes quoted like Wilson's, but throughout it had certain consistent features. Whether open to view or just below the surface, paternalism in Haiti always embodied the logic of domination that was revealed in Butler's angry outburst. It was based on the assumption that Haitians were as yet in the early stages of their evolutionary development as a people. It posited that Haiti would come rather into its own as a nation only after a period of tutelage under the guiding band of, no, the guiding hand, I should say, of that paternal figure known affectionately as Uncle Sam. So the only way in which Haiti can achieve development, can achieve prosperity, is under the guiding hand of Uncle Sam, the guiding hand of the United States of America. And that is something very interesting that we should understand. So in terms of the US policy toward Haiti, we know that the United States considers itself to be the founding father, as it were, not to sound overture Jack Dessalines, right? It is Jean-Jacques Dessalines, I should say, right? Because it's Jean-Jacques Dessalines, right? But the United States want to now behave as if it is or was the founding father of the United States of Haiti, and therefore they should sort of carve out the destiny for Haiti, right, as it were. But are they the founding fathers? No, but that's how they're behaving. And Haiti will not be prosperous until the United States and members of the core group take their hands off the country and begin the country to, to lead the country so that the Haitians themselves can be led to prosperity. But one of the things that we cannot understand also, the greed of the Haitian politicians and the greed of the economic elites in Haiti won't allow Haiti also to prosper, right? We also have to look at that and how do we get rid of the Haitian elites and their greed, right? That is something that we have to work on. So it's not only what the United States is doing, but the elites also aid and abet what happens in Haiti. They work along with their American counterparts, along with their American colleagues. Because many of these people have green cards and citizenship in the United States, and they move back and forth. And they do have also businesses that are linked with United States major corporations and major businesses, right? So sometimes we talk about the US and we talk about Haiti and we look at them as two distinct countries, and they are, literally speaking, but you must understand that the rulers, the politicians, and the economic elites, the financial elites are connected irrespective of their nationalities. You must understand that. So when we say US and when we say Haiti, we have to say, who are we talking about? Whom are you talking about? Right? And that will give us some inkling as to what is happening. But we can't just look in this general terms and say Haiti, US, and think that they refer to ordinary people, because a lot of times when we're talking in terms of imperialism and we're talking about the US and Haiti, we're talking about the joint efforts of the elite class against the ordinary man and woman, or the ordinary man and woman in those countries. I think I'm tired now, so it's time to end this video. Thank you so much for joining this today. I hope that you'll have a fantastic day and that I have said enough that can give you something to chew on until the next video is made. Thank you so much for joining. I don't even know what I'm going to title this video, but I found the title. Thank you so much for joining. Best of luck to you. Bye.